All right, we are live, and welcome to our season-ending edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show, the one show a year where it's only appropriate to open with this question. What's the good word? There we go. It is the week of the 118th edition of Clean Old-Fashioned Hate Black Friday between the hedges for your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets as they take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Cannot wait to see you all up the road this Friday night. And I certainly can't wait to break down what lies ahead in a little more than 48 hours from now. Georgia Tech coming on the heels of a heart-stopping finale to the home schedule at Bobby Dodd Stadium at Hyundai Field, but they polish off the first undefeated home record at Georgia Tech since 1999 last Thursday night with that 30-29 win to the very last second against North Carolina State. Welcome into the Brent Key Coaches Show. I'm Andy Demetra. Of course, we have the Brent Key Coaches Show from 6 to 7 p.m. We have Radio Network pregame for Georgia Tech basketball versus Charleston Southern at 7 o'clock. So what's the Radio Network to do? Let's just bring the whole party under one roof. So we are broadcasting the Brent Key Coaches Show tonight live from here at McCamish Pavilion on the 10th Street Concourse side of McCamish. If you have your ticket, get here early. Hang out with the head coach, Brent Key. If you hadn't gotten your ticket yet, go to the box office, get one, join the festivities here because we have got a lot of Georgia Tech football to break down over the next 60 minutes, and we will, as always, do it with the man to my left, and I appreciate you correcting me because I've always sat on your right this season. Certainly during some of these wins, can't tempt fate and mess with a good thing. So the man to my left, head coach Brent Key. How are you, Coach?
You're my right-hand man.
Well, I'm glad I'm somebody's right-hand man. Would not have figured it was yours, but I'm sure you have many, and I'm happy to play my part.
Just got to go ahead and throw this out there.
Go for it.
All right. The big word that you used in the article on Jordan Williams.
Okay.
Which one? What was it? You go with an I think.
Which one? Sisyphean.
Or an S.
Yeah, that was an S. Yeah, Sisyphean.
You one-upped yourself there.
Because of Sisyphus rolling the boulder up the hill and never being able to get it to the summit. And I'm sure that's what it may have felt like at times this season. See what I'm doing here? That's also called a segue. Different S word.
Or roll in.
Okay.
I just made that one up.
Yeah, well, it's your show. We'll call it a roll-in. But you got that thing rolling on that last drive against North Carolina State. 30-29 with the game-winning touchdown score with 22 seconds left by your true freshman, Aaron Fonnell. We'll get to Aaron's performance in a moment first, Coach. But first, I just got to ask you, the atmosphere of that night, the emotion and the swings in momentum, when it was all said and done, when you saw that 58-yard field goal, just missed that upright by a couple of inches. What did it feel like for you to finish an undefeated record at home with a game like that and an accomplishment not seen at Georgia Tech since your junior year, 1999?
Well, it felt like the wind was blowing, and I was extremely happy the wind was blowing. I mean, if you look at the film, you can see there's a little piece of paper blowing about 30 miles an hour across the field on that field goal. So, no, it did. It felt good. Really excited for the seniors. That's what's exciting. Those guys being able to go through what they've gone through. The guys that have been here for 4 or 5 years. Some of the guys that have been here for 2 years, 1 year. When it's all said and done, they're all part of this family. They're all Georgia Tech. They're all for us. They're all in, and I was super excited for those guys.
You said as much afterwards. By no means did you play a perfect game, but Andrew Gardner and I said afterwards it was that classic find-a-way game. You struggle to find a consistent spark on offense. You force some turnovers, but also some lapses defensively. But those moment-of-truth type plays that may have eluded your team at Syracuse and at Louisville, you were able to make them and execute them versus North Carolina State. What was your overall takeaway of that type of game, and what kind of effort it required from your guys to ultimately get that win?
Yeah, if you talk to any coach on our staff, anybody in our office, there's not one person that did not think that game was going to be anything other than the way it was. Just a hard-fought game. We knew the adversity we had in the game going in. We knew what type of team they were, and I mean, at that point they had lost, I think, 3 games by 4 points or less. So, they'd won some close ones, lost some close ones, and you have a team like that, they're always dangerous, especially if they play the way the defense, the way they play it. We knew that it wasn't going to be a great matchup for us the way we had to play offense in that game. Luckily we got some good takeaways on the defensive side. They came very, very timely moments. And it was a great game to really get a flood of them. So it was a complete team game, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So just anytime you can come out with a win this time of year, it's important.
Now, no one was more timely than your freshman Aaron Fado, who on Monday earned ACC Rookie of the Week. 265 passing yards. He led your team in rushing, those consecutive 18-yard scrambles in that final drive, the last one to punch it in and get the go-ahead score. I do have to ask, what was that conversation that you had or that Buster had heading into that final drive with Aaron? Any last message to him about how to manage that drive with $1:30 to go?
Yeah, it wasn't unfamiliar to him as far as running the show in that situation. We do those every day in practice. There was one time out, a minute 30 on the clock. So him going out there and executing, and actually it helped out a little bit because they knew the way they played basically played goal line defense the whole game. So we were able to pop a couple of things in there, pop some runs in there. We had a timeout. What he did a great job of was understanding the situation and allowed us to be able to save the timeout, only having one. So there's several instances in that series where we could have used it, all right, and he was headsy enough to be able to either get the ball to somebody that was getting out of bounds, all right, or to get up there and be able to get it executed in a timely manner. So just that's the way he is all the time. He's very calm. He just hey, all right guys, let's go have some fun. Let's go win this thing. He reminds me of some of the great ones we've been around.
Yeah, you don't set the Georgia high school career passing yards record without being in some high stakes, high stage, high leverage moments, and he certainly showed a lot of poise in that final drive.
Yes,
You'd said that North Carolina State was basically playing goal line defense all game long, and they'd held you guys 2.4 yards a carry before those final two run plays from Fado. In pregame, you told me, we're expecting a lot of 1-2 yard runs out of our offense. That's just the nature of it. What did make the Wolfpack's run defense so tricky?
I mean,
just because they were put 9 up front?
Yeah, there was no deep safety. I mean, anytime. I mean, look, you have if there's 5 linemen and a tight end, all right, and they have 7, that's +1. All right, when they have 9, all right, now they not only do they fill all the gaps, they have the extra hitter, and look, we had some drops in that game that we can't continue to have. And if we hit a couple of those, it's a different game. But you got to play a complete game. You got to play complementary football. But we knew it was going to be that way. So and Haynes came in and did what he had to do, and then Aaron was able to execute there at the end.
Some of that complimentary football came from forcing turnovers. He got 3 interceptions, and I thought this was cool. All 3 guys who got picks, it was the first of their careers, Georgia Tech or elsewhere. Romello Height, Trinelius Tatum, and then E.J. Lightsey, who took the doink off the helmet on the pop pass and ran it 21 yards for a score. That ball needed to stay airborne because on a pop pass, had it hit the ground, it would have been an incomplete pass. So how cool was that to see those 3 guys all contribute in their own ways, do something they hadn't accomplished in their college careers, and in the case of E.J., open the scoring for you with that touchdown.
Yeah, and the coolest thing is all 3 of those guys are playing really good football right now. Trent has gotten better each week. Really playing the best ball he's played in his career right now. EJ, who was injured early on in the season, is really starting to come into his own. And then Romello, who there's probably 12, 15 times in the season we could count and say almost he's right there. He's starting to the production's starting to really add up now.
Yeah, not only that interception, almost ran it in himself for a touchdown, but Haynes King cashed in one play later, that on the heels of his strip sack versus Miami. So Romello playing his best football at the best time of year, Friday night, 7:30, toe meets leather, in the 118th edition of Clean Old Fashioned Hate. Again, we're broadcasting the Brent Key Coaches Show tonight, live from McCamish Pavilion. Looks like you got some hands to shake during the commercial break. We are just getting started here. Stay with us. Much more to come here on the Georgia Tech Sports Network.
The latest on Yellow Jackets football. It's the Coach Brent Key Show, driven by Hyundai on the Georgia Tech Sports Network.
Is Coke Zero Sugar the best Coke ever? Take a taste as we welcome you back to a live edition, clean old-fashioned hate version of the Brent Key Coaches Show, driven by Hyundai. Live tonight from the Thriller Dome, McCamish Pavilion, where at 7:30 your Georgia Tech men's basketball team will tip off versus Charleston Southern. If you got your ticket, doors are open. Come by 10th Street Concourse. Hang out with us. We'll take you to the top of the hour, and then Radio Network pregame to follow for the Yellow Jackets and Buccaneers. And I'd just like to put on the record, Coach, that the fastest person affiliated with the football program is Eric Singleton. The second fastest person was me, getting from O'Keefe Gymnasium and busted it across the parking lot to get here in time to make the start of the show.
That was very impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, I walked up. I left before you. I walked up, and you're already...
I need to get that catapult system on me.
Yeah, you'd be a blazing 12.2.
You know, for my demographic, though, I'll take that.
I see you run all the time, though.
Well, I know, but usually not that fast. It's slower twitch these days.
I don't know. You run pretty fast.
I had to hoof it. I'm sure you had a lot of adrenaline. You could have been shot out of a cannon there on that final play of the North Carolina State game. Do have to ask, because I'm sure everybody who was either watching it or was at Bobby Dodd Stadium at Hyundai Field has their own moment and memory from that. What was going through your mind on that last field goal attempt?
Well, actually, I thought they were going to run another play, and and try to get it to,
because they had a timeout left.
Correct.
Yeah.
And from what he says, Dave thought it was 5 seconds, ended up being 6. Either way, though, I was thinking they were going to run another play. I thought it was probably too far for him to try it, to try the field goal. So obviously you can't throw a Hail Mary and have time left over. So I was kind of getting ready thinking it was going to be a shot to the end zone, or maybe a quick out to gain 5 more yards and maybe have a second left. But they elected to kick, and I kneeled down and squatted down in my catcher stance and hoped that wind kept on blowing in. And but I mean, that wind was blowing hard from the back, though.
Yeah, they had the wind at their back. I mean, that flag was stars right by the end.
But the thing in our stadium, there's a certain way that our stadium, the wind blows because of the, where it comes from the northwest, comes in, from the north side. And it used to bank really hard off of the Edge building. And really the question we always had was, now that the Edge building isn't there, how is the wind going to come in? And it still had the same effect where it comes in, it kind of banks off the east stands, goes down, and then when you get to the Wardlaw side, it wraps back around always. So I was just hoping that it kept blowing harder from behind, right, with a kick that far, that it was going to keep wrapping and wrap back around and cause it to be misjudged. And I mean, he hit a golf shot like you've never seen. I mean, that thing, when you look at it, it's shot over there kind of in the left corner, right, and it just weaved back over. And the football people were with us that night.
I didn't expect to get such an education on wind pattern at Bobby Dodd Stadium. Look at you, Jim Cantori. I like that.
Jim Cantori, I mean, that's part of football.
Well, it is.
The kicking.
I just didn't know about the wind tunnel dynamics inside Bobby Dodd Stadium, and how that may have affected a kick.
Well, and it affects
the wind coming from that direction, yeah.
It affects the decisions, too. And, we chose to take the wind in the third because, their highest output as a team on the season had been in the third quarter.
Interesting.
So we wanted the wind behind us in the third, right, in their face. So, it's all calculated risk that you take. But their highest output by a lot had been in the third quarter. So we wanted to make sure that we had the wind in their face in the third.
Well, you could exhale when that potential game-winning field goal swung wide from NC State. On the other hand, your kicker, Aiden Burr, ACC Specialist of the Week. 3 field goals, all 40-plus yards. First Yellow Jacket kicker since 2010 to have 3 40-plus yard field goals in the same game. The other big news coming out of practice this week, you named your permanent captains, which is one of the biggest honors that you bestow upon the players in your program. And here are the captains officially. Kyle Eford represented the defense. Your center, Weston Franklin. Your tackle, Jordan Williams. Haynes King, also a permanent team captain. Am I right about that? He just wasn't available at the press conference. And then the 5th captain, Will Schism, who was one of the 23 seniors honored before the game on Thursday. And he may be the most unique captain of anybody who has worn that captaincy at Georgia Tech, because here's a guy, former walkout, hadn't dressed out this year. His playing days were essentially over, and he's essentially been an assistant coach for you this fall. What is it about Will where his teammates, his peers, still wanted to name him a team captain, and what that says about him?
Yeah, when we name permanent captains, I think the cool thing about it is we don't look at offense, defense, special teams. All right, we look at who are the guys that impact and influence others in the locker room the most. And, things that happen in the locker room, coaches don't always know every little thing, and you hope things are going the right way and being, influenced the right way. So Will's a guy that was, I think he's been here, probably 8-10 years it seems like, but he's getting his master's. He was a walk-on offensive lineman. His father, played college and pro football. I mean, there's actually a 30-for-30 on his dad, and so it means so much to him. And he's a guy that he would stay after practice every day and work on his pass sets and his run fits and these things as an offensive lineman. Knowing he wasn't going to play, but he wanted to make himself better on the scout team to make the defensive guys better. And at the end of last spring, we sat down in our end of spring meetings, and I said, Will, you're getting ready to start on your master's. He's got a 4.0 in getting his master's in civil engineering, and I said, it's your choice, your decision on what you want to do. And he said, Coach, I'm going to show you. I'm coming back. And I said, Will, you've had 5 knee surgeries at this point, and I just want to do what's best for you and for you to concentrate. He goes, I can do them both. So he comes back, and this opportunity kind of presented itself where he moved from offensive line to work, kind of some specialists, and we had this opportunity where we needed an extra signaler and someone to work as a student assistant, and he took it and ran with it. But obviously, he did not lose his impact and his influence in the locker room, and to be a guy that had it, to have as many votes as he did, it was unbelievable. And when I stood in front of the team before practice yesterday, usually I wait till after practice to tell them that I was so excited when I counted those votes for Will that I couldn't wait to get out there. And before we even went to flex, I called the whole team up, introduced who the captains were, and then told them Skiz. And I was emotional, going through it, because it's just such an unbelievable story and an unbelievable testament to this football team and what it's about.
He's never played a live snap in his Georgia Tech career.
No, he hasn't.
And here he is, forever, permanent team captain. Pretty cool. It's one of those stories that you only seem to find at a place like Georgia Tech. That is super cool, and he got the opportunity to dress out, put on the pads and the number 57 in the helmet one final time for his photo op with his parents at senior day. I saw him maybe the day after. I said, how'd it feel to put everything back on? He says, oh, it was great, but I did have to keep my coach's pants on underneath my football pants because he had to make a really quick change to get into his signaling attire for Tommy's leather.
We had 15 or 16 players on our team that had double-digit votes for permanent team captain. So that says a lot about the guys, too.
Can I read you a quote that Jordan Williams gave me earlier this week? And I tweeted it, and Jordan's our guest on the radio network pregame show. I also talked with him for my Inside the Chart column, which posted today on RamblingWreck.com. And this is what Jordan Williams said about your program. There are really no cliques or groups within this program. Everybody is close to each other. You could take the 5 most random players on the team and just throw them into an escape room, and the teamwork would be flawless. First off, that is a classic Jordan Williams quote, and also a very telling quote about, as overused and trite a phrase as it is, the culture that you have and the leadership inside your locker room. Not only something like that, where so many guys get so many deserving votes to be a permanent captain.
Yeah, I've said it so many times. I mean, when you talk, so many people talk about culture, and culture is, most of the time something that's a cheesy graphic or a tweet or something like that people, put out there. Culture is what happens when no one's looking, when no one knows what's going on. That's what's developed. And I can probably guarantee you that Jordan didn't just come up with that on his own, that he's probably been in an escape room with 5 random guys, and they figured their way out of it. So
I feel like he might have figured his way out by just punching the drywall.
No, I think
kicking down the door. That might have seemed like you in an escape room, actually, come to think of it.
Yeah, shortest distance is a straight line, right?
There you go. Big people beat up small people, even in an escape room.
There you go.
I like it. Well, I'm going to spare you the really overwrought segue, but just let you know that New Realm Brewing Company is Atlanta's favorite restaurant and brewery. Thanks to them for all their support of the Brent Key Coaches Show throughout the year. Again, we are broadcasting live from the 10th Street Concourse inside McCamish Pavilion ahead of tip-off at 7:30 for your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets versus Charleston Southern on a clean, old-fashioned hate edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show, and we will continue after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. Back with you for a live edition night before Thanksgiving, Brent Key Coaches Show, night after Thanksgiving. We'll be in Athens for Clean Old-Fashioned Hate, 7:30, Tome East Leather. Broadcasting tonight from McCamish Pavilion ahead of Georgia Tech basketball versus 7:30. Big thanks to all of you coming out, hanging out with us, listening to the show. I can tell from some of the cups that you guys are holding that the concessions are open, and that is good. And I admire your choice of beverages. So well done over there. Keep the spirits flowing. Keep those spirits high for Friday at 7:30 p.m. Once we shut everything down here on the Brent Key Coaches Show, keep those radios on. Ramblin' Wreck tip-off show for Georgia Tech basketball at 7 o'clock, and I will be walking right down the aisle here behind us, Brent, and assuming I don't get served with a subpoena, I'll be right back at it, welcoming everybody into Georgia Tech basketball. So
there you go.
Fingers crossed.
There you go.
Yeah. We talk about some guys just needing to wait for their moment when they do have that opportunity. Do they maximize it? And what a player who jumped out in the final box score for you versus North Carolina State. Maybe not a surprise to see Clayton Powell-Lee, your stalwart safety, lead the team with 8 tackles, but I had to do a double take when I saw the man who was second on the team in tackles on Thursday, and that was Jackson Hamilton. Your linebacker, the transfer from Louisville, native of Woodstock, 6 tackles. I know his playing time had been here and there throughout this season when you have such a good quality of depth in that linebacker room, but what gave him that opportunity? What made him productive against NC State?
Yeah, I mean, whether it's early or late, I mean, you've got to play multiple guys on defense. I mean, you can't go through a season and play, just the starters or just the backups. You got to have guys playing. You got to have them rolling in. And it's first year in the defensive system, so it's taking some of the guys, a little more time to grasp not just what to do, but the speed of doing it and being able to process and do it. And then he's been banged up a little bit the last few weeks, so. I guess probably last 3 or 4 weeks has not played as many reps, and also EJ's been coming on, and so we've got some guys there we continue to play with. They're playing on special teams, and you channel a little bit of his daddy out there on Thursday night, making plays. So
depth sometimes takes a while to reveal itself. It's not always there when you want it to be in August or when it's commonly written, but this is the time of year where if you continue to develop your players, that depth will start to pay dividends. And Jackson Hamilton did his part on Thursday. Do want to ask you about the run defense in general because they were able to bust some big plays on you. I think 8.6 yards to rush, which very uncharacteristic for what Santucci and the defense has done this year. What did you diagnose afterwards, particularly on some of those scrambles from their quarterback, C.J. Bailey?
Yeah, I mean, we were in. We had a couple times we were in man coverage, and backs were turned to him as we're playing the man. One of the times we had a spy on him, and he got caught up in the wash, and he got kind of walled off. And 2 of those times he was able to make big runs. I mean, really, the best run of the night for us was the long run they had at the end of the game. I mean, that's one of those situations in the game that we talk about. We practice all the time where usually it happens, inside the 20, 15-yard line. Where you break a run and and that guy goes and takes a knee, or from our standpoint, you let him score, and that was one of those situations. And once he broke the line of scrimmage, all right, and it became more than a 4 or 5 yard gain. I mean, you can see our the DBs, they were headsy enough to pull off and let him score, and he did. And if he had taken a knee, they would have been able to run it out and kick a field goal. So that was. The biggest run of the night for us was won by them. We were able to, it's a freeway situation, we call it. There's freeways and barricades.
52 yards. Didn't think of it at the time that it would be your best run of the night, but
I did.
Yeah, it's funny. Andrew Gardner said the exact same thing. Maybe 2 seconds after he crossed the goal line, he said, "Andy, that might have been the best thing to happen to Georgia Tech because if he could easily taken a knee at the 5 yard line, you had one timeout." They could kick essentially an extra point on the final play. Instead, you got the 1:30, one timeout, and you got the guy who won ACC Rookie of the Week in Aaron Filo ready to do some work.
Once he broke through the line of scrimmage and he took off, you can see me on the sideline. I'm going, go, 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 go.
You're
go.
Probably urging him on more than Dave Doran was.
I was like, and they're all cheering on the sideline, and we were kind of like, go, yes, 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 yes. All right, we got the ball back. Let's go score.
Give me we're at game number 12, for a season that began across the Atlantic and the regular season will end between the hedges. Can you pick maybe one player on offense, one player on defense who's made the biggest progress or has made the biggest strides from game 1 to game 12? I know there are a lot of good candidates. Who are the first couple of people who jump to mind, though?
Goodness. I mean, one guy that, it has really improved all season, but he started off strong. I mean, with Jackson Halls.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy that is just really, Bailey Stockton's probably another one on offense. Defensively, Romello is one that's continued to improve, but E.J. Lightsey, I would have said Tay Seymour before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Then, and then talk about guys that, you don't have to be a young guy to develop. A guy that's playing probably his best ball right now is Sylvain. A guy that, started off slow in the season, coming back from a knee injury and, playing good football and being able to affect the quarterback right now. Gotta love JJ. You gotta love JJ Vandenberg in the way, he's just continued to establish himself, every week a little bit more, and where the stats might not show up for some guys at that position, it allows, they really do play. They're able to affect the game.
Oh, you talked about that in the Miami game. You just look at the total number of tackles by your defensive line. It looks very underwhelming, but they were playing responsibility football, allowing those linebackers and safeties to clean up and rack up the tackles, so they were doing their work. It's fun to watch J.J. Vandenberg, but it's especially fun to talk to him because he's a native of Johannesburg, South Africa, moved with his family here to Metro Atlanta at 10 years old. And he was telling me his roommates, they kind of like to goad him into saying certain words where that accent will come back out again. And I know he's trying his best to tap dance around it and circumvent saying the word they want him to say when you hear that South African lilt, but it's unavoidable. But he's a terrific young man who's got a pretty charming accent as well.
He's a golden retriever.
Is that what he is to you?
He is a big golden retriever. That's exactly what he is. He's just he's a big old dog that thinks it's a little puppy and is a lap dog.
So he's also a freaky in the weight room. He can throw up some big weight, which should come as no surprise because his maternal grandfather placed 6th in his division of the Mr. Universe competition, representing South Africa in 1967. You know who won the overall Mr. Universe that year in 1967?
It'd be too obvious to say Arnold Schwarzenegger.
There you go. Yeah, just some unknown guy named Schwarzenegger. So, yeah, I mean, you look at, like, the final places in Mr. Universe, you're going to see an Arnold Schwarzenegger and then in one of the divisions, a Francois Vandenberg. And I think his grandson is doing him proud. Is that one of those things, though, where defensive tackles, they're not enamored with the stat sheet? They don't need to look at how many tackles or TFLs they may have had. Or do you have to constantly have that conversation with them that, hey, you might have gotten one tackle in that game. You played really well.
They all want stats.
I know they do. But did they keep a measure of perspective about it? Well, more so than maybe other position groups.
It's probably one of the best things about Jess is that, you have to understand the why behind everything and understand why you're doing certain things. And as soon as one of those guys wants to get, selfish to the fact of trying to get a stat or trying to make a play, and doesn't do their job within the scheme of the defense, that's when big plays happen. That's when gaps get busted and you have two guys in a gap, and now the linebackers and safeties don't know how to fit the runs.
Broadcasting you live tonight from McCamish Pavilion, special edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show on this Wednesday night. Before we do hit a break, I have to ask, we all know about your exploits in football. How were you as a basketball player?
Horrible.
5 fouls?
I've never played.
Not even like recreationally?
No.
Not even in high school?
I couldn't make the team. You kidding me? I tried out in 7th grade, got cut. 8th grade, got cut. Then I said, then I kind of shifted to wrestling.
They didn't even watch you as an enforcer?
No. I mean, I was I'm horrible. Horrible at basketball. I don't like playing basketball. I love watching it.
Okay.
Love watching Georgia Tech. So much respect for the great basketball players, but I am the worst thing you've ever seen in your life.
I'll tell you what you could do, though. You could set a pick.
Yeah, but
you could set a wipeout screen.
Yeah, but no. Way too much running.
Okay. Not enough contact, even on those big physical screens in basketball. Because you know why? You have to stay stationary. You're an offensive lineman. You like to drive somebody backwards. You can't do that.
It's like you're trying to talk somebody into eating something they don't like to eat.
Yeah, I'm not succeeding, am I?
No, it's like basketball and green peas. Can't stand them.
Okay, so we know what is not on the Thanksgiving table for you tomorrow. We know what is on the table for Georgia Tech on Friday, 7:30, and that would be clean, old-fashioned hate. Before we go to break, what's the good word? Good word? Just making sure everybody is listening here live at the Thrilladome on the 10th Street Concourse. Make sure you get through the gates here as we've got tip-off in a little more than 40 minutes for your Georgia Tech basketball team. We'll take our final timeout, wrap things up with the head coach of your Yellow Jackets, Brent Key, after this on the Georgia Tech Sports Network.
The latest on Yellow Jackets football. It's the Coach Brent Key Show, driven by Hyundai on the Georgia Tech Sports Network.
The Brent Key Coaches Show is brought to you by the Georgia Lottery. Hey, Georgia, you can play Georgia Lottery games online, at home, on your phone, or anywhere. Go to GLottery.com and click on DigiGames. I'm Andy DeMantra. He is Brent Key. You know, we made the decision a few days ago for this final regular season Brent Key Coaches Show, since it was up so tight against Georgia Tech basketball and tip-off here at McCamish Pavilion. How do we do both shows? Why not do them all under one roof at McCamish Pavilion? Thinking, let's open the doors early, invite the folks out here to come say hi to Brent, see him, talk some Georgia Tech football, and I just got to say, you guys answer the call and then some, hanging out with us. Thank you so much for being part of our last regular season edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show. It's been fun, Brent, because this fall, you know, we've taken the show to the Beltline. We've taken it to West Midtown. We've taken it to the steps of Sigma Alpha Epsilon. We've taken it to the Ramblin' Wreck Garage on campus during homecoming week. And it's just been so great to be out mingling with Georgia Tech students, Georgia Tech fans, and I know that means a lot to you to feel that support for your radio show every night, whatever night times that is.
Look, if I could do anything just to say thank you to all the fan support this year, you know, all the student support, you know, for the games, the people that travel to the games, the people at the home games, the people that can't make it to the games but are still cheering and supporting. Right? Nothing is more special to this team and these kids that go through, you know, the day-to-day of playing college athletics, college football, right? Also attending classes and making good grades here at Georgia Tech. Right? It's a special group of guys. It really is, and I just cannot thank everyone enough for all the support that they've given us.
There is such a perpetuating effect of the energy that your players get from Georgia Tech fans, and we know that they'll feel it as they head into Athens on Friday. Tommy's Leather, 7:30, I should say, network airtime, 5:30 on the Georgia Tech Sports Network. And let's get to the matter at hand. And the Georgia Bulldogs, you know, you gained the most yards in the regular season of any opponent last year versus Georgia. You tied for the most points scored of any regular season opponent versus Georgia. I know every season, every matchup is different. Do you draw anything from that as you get prepared for this one on Friday night?
Not at all.
Just even the confidence of knowing it can be done, or does that confidence come from what you've done the previous 11 games?
Yeah, you know, the confidence comes from believing, right? It doesn't have to necessarily come from something you've done in the past or that you've accomplished. And you know, what we've done from January 6th until now is what gives this team confidence to be able to go out and play. And look, have we been perfect every game? No, not at all. Right? And have we had adversity? Yeah. We had challenging times? Yeah. Right? But you know, the adversity and the challenging times are what make you grow, and that's what allows you to grow with the confidence to be able to compete with anybody.
In just a couple of words, how would you define your team? Its collective personality. What makes you proud to be their coach and know you got the guys to go in on Friday and come back with what all Georgia Tech fans are looking for?
Tough, disciplined, and committed.
Three pretty good words. This being the last show, and we've done this show Thanksgiving week with you a couple of times now. I want to make sure that I clear the runway for you because the passion always comes out of you when we talk about this subject. And I know you want to address Georgia Tech fans about what they expect out of your guys, what you will demand out of your guys on Friday, and what Georgia Tech collectively will get come Friday night when Tommy's Leather is at 7:30. So, Brent, floor is yours, my friend. What do you want to say to Tech fans?
Look, this team is a reflection of all of us. It's a reflection of Georgia Tech. It's a reflection of the people of Georgia Tech. All right, you know, Georgia Tech is a collection of tough people, tough-minded, mentally tough, Right? And when I say tough, I don't mean going out and bumping chests and getting in fights. I mean mentally tough, being able to persevere, right? Being able to solve problems, figure things out. Right? When things aren't necessarily going your way, right, you continue to push forward and reach what your ultimate goal is. Right? And that's what this team is. Right? This team is a total mirror image of what Georgia Tech is. Right? And look, they're 18 to 22, 23-year-old kids that are out there, busting their tails and playing their butts off. Right, not just for themselves, not for each other. Right, they love this place. Right, they play for the GT, they play for white and gold, they play for everyone. They play for everyone that's out there, all the fans. Right, this team really truly believes in what the power of the GT is.
Brent, I got one last question to ask you. This being our final show, what's the good word?
To hell with Georgia.
I think the man knows of what he speaks. And on that, we will wrap up our season-ending edition of the Brent Key Coaches Show. Brent, this has been a lot of fun. Great chopping it up with you for an hour every week. And can't wait to visit with you Between the Hedges on Friday night, 7:30. Tommy's Leather. Cannot wait.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Andy. You've been awesome. This has been an awesome time all year. And appreciate all the fans and the support that they give this team.